Good morning, good evening, and good night, YouTubers out there. I am Jeff the Christian Gamer, and I am about to talk about the state of the gaming industry, specifically Nintendo's place in it and how they're going to change things. I'm going to be doing this while playing Bayonetta, just simply because I haven't played the game in forever, and Nintendo is about to come out with Bayonetta as a Smash Brothers character, so I figure I should go ahead and brush up so when I do my video I don't suck as bad as what Cloud's video did. Yeah. So, getting right into this thing, basically we're going to go ahead and talk about where the gaming market is currently. I see the gaming industry today in a sort of rut. They're trying to figure out what they want to do with themselves. The race to better and faster and stronger and things of that nature have, in my opinion, warped or even deformed the gaming industry as a whole. I know that sounds a little weird, but those of you who have seen the trend of the gaming industry to follow the fad of trying to increase graphical fidelity is coming to an end, and it's coming to an end relatively soon. The reason I know this is because I've done a little bit of research on the limits of the human eye. Yeah, just oh, logistical errors. We are experiencing technical difficulties.
Bayonetta.
Alrighty, as I was saying, I've done a little research on the human eye and what people believe the human eye is capable of perceiving based on, screen size, etc. when it comes to the number of pixels on a screen. And basically, with a standard size TV, we'll say like 50 to 70 inches, home theater system, kind of a extra super awesome TV. At the very best, you can perceive maybe 7 to 8,000 pixels on that TV before it doesn't even matter anymore. So yeah, it's coming to a tipping point to where
Who the fuck are you?
eventually, no matter what you do graphically to a game, it can be no more stunning or for lack of a better term, it can no longer be eye candy because you can't see what's happening anymore. You can't see the changes anymore. And so,
Where's Fimbulventer?
that tipping point is coming relatively early, especially considering the fact that the current 4K, etc., is being quickly replaced by 5 and 6K already. We are coming to a point, I would say maybe the next 10 years at the very most, where graphical fidelity is not going to matter. Because of this, Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo even are going to have to completely change their philosophy on what graphics should be. Instead of focusing on how many polygons you can put onto a screen, they're going to have to focus on how those polygons look artistically instead of how, realistic they are. So, in that respect, I believe Nintendo has a distinct edge because they've been doing that all along. They've maybe they've even seen into the future in a way and said, hey, at some point, eventually, your eyes aren't going to be able to see the changes. And I think as a result of that thought, they are moving in a different direction and have been doing so for basically since Nintendo began. As soon as Sony and Microsoft became prominent companies, however, it became clear that people want the flashy, epic, awesome, high pixel graphics. And, you know, it's what Sony and Microsoft are providing, all the while without necessarily putting out something that is truly artistic or fun in a way that I believe only Nintendo has been able to achieve so far. There are a couple of games out there that kind of defy the boundaries of what you look at as a game that weren't by Nintendo, but yeah, these games are relatively few. As far as top-selling games is concerned, in fact, I read an article that spoke of the fact that 17 out of the 25 top-selling games to ever exist were produced by Nintendo. So they know what they're doing. I just think it's ironic that there are so many people out there saying, hey, Nintendo doesn't know what they're doing. There's, I guess they called it the Nintendoom train or something like that. People all over the fact that Nintendo's about to fail, or they think that because they aren't doing what everybody else is doing in the industry that they're doomed to failure. If anything, I've learned in, you know, watching Nintendo and anybody else who decides to do something different or out of the ordinary, people will doubt that thing until it's widely successful. Yeah, that's just the trend I've noticed. Now, I guess that's a little picture of where gaming is and the tipping point of where they will, you know, where the industry will separate the big boys from the small boys or whatever is, you know, this graphical fidelity cap. The perception of the eye will eventually make graphics meaningless. What will Sony and Microsoft do about this? Well, in my opinion, I've seen them focusing a lot on VR technology, and VR technology is their eventual answer to this issue with graphical fidelity reaching the human perception's maximum. So yeah, we'll see how that works out, but I believe that's the direction that they're going. Now, as far as Nintendo goes with their eventual shift, they are looking a lot into augmented reality, making the real world into a game. I think that's a concept that has worked well for them in several games. They've proven with the 3DS that it is very possible to make a game that's very intriguing and interesting and feels wholly different from everything else on the market right now by, you know, introducing augmented reality. Yeah, for right now it's more mini games and things of that nature, but I can see that industry really becoming a big thing, just like I can see VR technology becoming a big thing. I will say that it has failed in the past, and this is one of Nintendo's larger debacles in my opinion, because they could have made VR the next thing 10, 15 years ago, and they didn't because, well, they, you know, didn't market it and they did it wrong. Like, it's, in my opinion, that's one of the biggest missteps Nintendo has done so far in their existence is, you know, kind of screwing up VR technology and making a stigma, almost a fear erupt in the gaming industry against doing VR technology. I think Microsoft and Sony are focusing on that now because they saw the merit in it, but, you know, they realize again that graphical fidelity can only take you so far. So yeah, we'll see if I'm right about that particular aspect. But anyway, yeah, the state of the gaming industry is moving away from graphics, is what I'm saying here. And since Nintendo has been adamant about not necessarily making the best graphically advanced games in the first place, yeah, they're already in the know about what to do to make their games artistic and fun at the same time. The next discussion topic, I decided to look at an article with regards to Nintendo's market value. I'll put the link to this article in the description so you can check it out yourself in full. but I'm just going to kind of give you a brief overview of what he was talking about. This is more specifically with relation to Nintendo's entry into the mobile gaming business. Speaking from a mobile perspective, Nintendo again is in a unique place. They are the only company that does gaming that is both hardware and software since Sony went out of the business, a few years ago. That dichotomy has kind of put them into a position where if they go into mobile, they run the risk of actually cannibalizing their console and handheld business. And I think while that's a real possibility, the likelihood of it is smaller because Nintendo caters their games to whatever system. And so to get that Nintendo experience, I believe people will be willing to, go out and pay a little extra money. And the reason why I mention this fact is because the article that I read actually said something almost exactly to that effect, and something that I've always believed. I was thinking, hey, this guy, market analyst, knows what he's talking about, and he's kind of saying what I'm saying. So, hey, maybe I'm kind of almost right about this, which doesn't really happen too often, so I got to savor that kind of stuff. Anyway, so, yeah, he basically was talking about how Nintendo entering the mobile space runs that risk, and that's the biggest issue with why I believe Iwata was against entering the mobile business as a company. Of course, now they've changed that stance. Iwata, before he died, said, hey, this is something that we're going to do now. So, I mean, hey. Now, another thing that they mentioned with regards to the mobile business is how vastly different it is compared to the home console business. Right now, home consoles, based on this article, they're doing about $255 million in revenue per year, which is a nice chunk of change, to be honest. And any percentage of that market would be enough to be pretty successful as a business in general. However, the mobile gaming market right now kind of dwarfs that. They're sitting at something like 2.6 billion, and even in the short term, in a 10-year span, they're going to be, market analysts say they're going to be around the neighborhood of 6 billion. So, an industry that's set to double itself in the next 10 years is a perfect place to go to get money. And so Nintendo, because they're not stupid, realized this. And I think that's the primary reason why they entered they changed their stance on the mobile gaming market, because it's too big of a chunk of the piece of pie that they're in to ignore. Now, do I believe they'll ever bring ports of games on other systems to the mobile gaming sector? I don't think so. I think what Nintendo's going to end up doing is what they've always done, which is to go ahead and make games custom tailored to the piece of hardware that they're making it for, the phone that they're making it for. They may even come out with different versions of their games in order to cater to specific brands of phones. I think that's a stretch in the long run because most mobile phones have very similar features. However, it is a possibility that I think Nintendo would cultivate because they're Nintendo. Excuse me. Boy. Anyway, the article that I found was written by a gentleman by the name of Joshua Kennedy. Now, Joshua Kennedy, not to be confused with the soccer player Joshua Kennedy, which made it really, really hard to Google search his name, is an influential person in the space that he's in, which is market evaluation. You can look him up. I may actually put a link to who he is in the description because, again, that soccer player really did make it hard to find out who he actually was. Anyway.
I gotta go watch.
Having children and recording at the same time. good times. Hold the handle down, baby. I mean, wipe your booty first, but yeah, make sure you hold down the handle so it actually flushes. Mm-hmm. Wipe the front and the back, don't forget. Alright. Alright, that's good. Close the bathroom door. Vicky, close the bathroom door. Alright, now close your room door, please. Alright, thank you, baby. Alright, so yeah, I'll go ahead and put a link to who he is in the description. Anyway, the way he looked at the issue, the reason why he believes the way he believes about where Nintendo is potentially heading is he decided to take the problem apart from the end to the beginning, as opposed from the beginning to the end. It's kind of calculus logic in a way, because there's a guy named Carl Jacobi who came up with a way to look at problems, basically saying, okay, let's look at the end and see how we got there based on the beginning. And so that line of logic is kind of where he went with this article and how to figure out where Nintendo is going. Now, basically what he said was something to the effect of Nintendo controls about 20% of the gaming market in general. And because of this, they are, kind of big players. They're be one of the best games manufacturers and hardware developers in the world, if not the best. And so this 20%, even, if optimistically they remained at 20% when they went into the mobile gaming industry, they would still, make their company 10 times more profitable by just going into the mobile space. They don't even have to necessarily be terribly successful. They just have to maintain the level of success they have now. Even if they decided that, the people decided that, hey, Nintendo's not really that great at mobile and they only get 10%, they're still set up to completely change their revenue, their input, and therefore their stock value. Speaking of profitability, this basically their entry into the mobile gaming market has no way of doing anything but helping their company from a stock perspective, from a revenue perspective. There's nothing that can go wrong here, basically, is what he was saying. Yeah, Nintendo is too good at making fun things, and this ability is going to translate into the mobile market very nicely, because Nintendo is Nintendo, and they always make sure they get it right before they actually go out there and throw something out and put it to the public. Generally speaking, they do a fantastic job of that. Yeah, I mean, that's basically my assertion, is that Nintendo is about to be in a position where not only will they change the handheld market, they will also change the console market with the NX, and they'll change the mobile market because, hey, they're Nintendo, and people have been clamoring for years for them to put their stuff on a system that isn't theirs. So they decided to go with mobile, the most profitable sector of gaming right now. And I think that's pretty much a winning formula, no matter how you slice it. It'd be different if people were saying, hey, we don't want Mario on a phone, but that's been literally the argument for, since the possibility of Nintendo entering the mobile game began. It's like, hey, we want them in mobile, and we want Mario on there. Of course, now their first couple of games on mobile devices are not going to be Mario. This Miimoto thing, or whatever it's called, is going to be their first mobile game, which is actually like a social media app or whatever. And, you know, I don't think that that's necessarily the right direction for them to have gone. However, in the interest of testing their general impact on the mobile market, that's a great way of doing it. Hey, let's test this out, see, you know, if they'll go for an application. If they can go for an application and we can become relatively successful at it, we'll know that we can put out a game, put more time and effort into producing something that more people will clamor for. So I think that's kind of Nintendo's strategy in the long run, is to say, hey, let's try this out, see how it goes. If it goes well, then hey, that's awesome. But if not, then, you know, we can just always continue in the console space, which they've always been and always will be successful in my opinion. That's where they started, man. That's where they began in the gaming market, was a console. So consoles, they began, consoles they'll remain, something like that. I don't remember the saying per se, but yeah. I don't know, that's just the basic overview of how I feel about Nintendo as a company and the gaming industry and where it's going. Nintendo's going to change everything again. Microsoft and Sony are going to be playing catch-up for the next couple of generations, and I think it's going to be soon. Like, the NX is probably going to be that crucial change where graphical fidelity no longer matters. If not the NX, it'll be the next Nintendo system. It's going to be in the very near future. So, you know, to that effect, I think there's no way Nintendo's going out of the console business, the gaming business, at all. It's the people that are saying that right now, to me, are kind of silly. It's like, okay, this company has been successful for years, 100 years in different types of business. Of course, they've had their failures, of course, you know, as well, but they sell fun, and I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't like to have fun. So until such a time as humanity says, hey, fun is not cool anymore, you know, Nintendo's going to be a thing. And I think that Nintendo is going to stay a thing, and a prominent developer, and a prominent console maker, and a prominent mobile games developer for the foreseeable future. Anywho, a little of my perspective on that. Yeah, if you like the video, like it, and subscribe, and come back for next time when I talk about other interesting gaming trends, etc. This is Jeff the Christian Gamer. Thank you for listening, and have a good day, or night, or morning, or wherever you are on that.